Tom Clark's Main Event is a Boink Studios production. Follow us on Twitter and Facebook at Boink Studios, and check us out on boinkstudios.com, where you can see all of our projects, past, present, and future. And now, on with the show.
This is Daddy's show. Step off.
Hey, what is up? Welcome to the program, folks. Thank you for tuning in. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Tom Clark, and you are listening to Tom Clark's Main Event. This is episode number 80 of the podcast, and if you're joining us today for the very first time, we will bid you welcome. If you're coming back for a repeat visit, we say, hey, thanks for checking back in with us. And to all those involved, we will extend to you, as always, the customary laurel and a hearty handshake. Thanks for listening. Thanks for reading. Thanks for supporting. And hey, thanks for always being there, Doc. I had a bit of a hard time getting through that introduction. I'm going to be honest with you. 80 episodes. That's a landmark for me, man. Very cool deal. I don't even know what to say. It's good stuff. I thought I would have this big opening monologue prepared and just, impress you guys on every level, but I don't really have anything. Not yet, anyway. I just want to soak it in. I guess I just wasn't really thinking about how close I was to the number. And don't get me wrong, this is not the end of it. I plan on being 180, 280, 380, 480. I have no plans of ever stopping the show. I just love doing this. I don't get to do it enough. You guys know that. Life beckons, as I always like to say. I keep busy all the time. Keep primarily busy with the stuff I do online, right? But this has become a real passion. And, I devote as much time to it as I possibly can. To the website, to the writing and everything. But the podcast, man, it's my pride and joy. I love every moment of this. And I got to thank you guys for being here. Because not only is this episode number 80, there's a whole lot of stuff. And let's go ahead and get to it. I don't want to waste any more time, all right? Because I like to give you guys the title, the subject of the show, and then we move ahead. So let's just do that. So this time out, the main event is my story. There you go. Hope you're into it. Hope it's not too crazy boring for you. It occurred to me during planning for this show, it's this episode specifically, of course, that I had not really gone into fantastic, massive detail about my past and things. I've talked about it. I've put it together, one episode or another, spread it out, discussed it, written about it a little bit, but never had it all in one place at one time. So that's why I thought I would do this. As I said a few moments ago, this is about much more than just episode number 80. There's some things that I'm pretty happy about, things that I want to tell you about that I've just not had a chance to get around to. But the fact is, I hit a couple of different anniversaries over the past several days. And I kind of knew they were coming, but I wasn't really counting down or anything like that. Kind of like I wasn't counting down to episode number 80. But a couple of different things happened that sort of come back to haunt you, and it's kind of cool. So I got to share those with you right now. For one thing, this is the 3rd year anniversary of the podcast, which is awesome. The actual 3rd year anniversary of Tom Clark's Main Event was 2014, August 18th, 2014, if memory serves correctly. And now I'm going to be all like that. I have to look that up just so I'm not giving you the incorrect date. Isn't that terrible? I don't even know the actual. That's just silly. Of course I know it. Don't be goofy. It's just I have a bad habit. It's OCD, I suppose, maybe. But I have a bad habit of checking back on dates and times and locations and things like that, just to be sure we're in the clear and that I've got everything laid out the way it needs to be laid out, and everyone's informed as they should be. But yes, August 18th was the first show of the main event. It's been a fun ride since then, and we've had some cool guest stars along the way, some future Hall of Famers, which is awesome. Got more on the way. Can't really talk about it right now. I'm just saying. It's all good, man. And yeah, it's like I said, it's been a fun ride. 3 years. The whole purpose of this was not just to do a show. I've been thinking about it. I had appeared on several podcasts. I've been on a guy talking WWE with Jay. Look Jay up. He's a fun guy. I enjoy him. He has me on. Pretty much all I got to do is just, he'll drop me an email or I'll drop him one, and then we're off to the races. I did his show a lot there for a while, and it got my feet wet, I guess you could say. It got me thinking about it, and I called in to Bust It Open a couple of times. It got on the air. That sort of it sort of whetted my appetite for it, and ever since then, after the guest spots and things, I was like, you know what, maybe I can do this for real. So I overloaded one month on writing, and got some nice deposits happening the next month, and got the money up to buy the equipment that I needed. And I wanted the work to pay for the work, if that makes sense. So I just wanted to reinvest in myself, which I did. And we're not the biggest show by far. The numbers are pretty good. They could be a lot better, but everything could be a lot better. But things could be a lot worse as well. But the fact is that the feedback I get from the main event is good. And it's well appreciated. It always has been, always will be. Any criticisms I get are well appreciated as well. I try to take them in stride and try to make the program better every chance I get. So I appreciate all you guys being out there for us and listening. It's a big deal for me. But like I said before, man, I have no desire to stop. I plan on doing 100, 180, 200, 280. Let's keep on moving, baby. That's what I want to do. So yeah, 3 years on the podcast. That's a great big fat thank you to you from me. And as long as you guys are listening, I'm going to keep doing it. It's a blast. I love doing this. It's good stuff. It's fun. And of course, you know me, man. I got to plug the stuff. Go to boinkstudios.com. You'll find the other 2 podcasts in our stable of shows. Tom Clark's 30-minute fun show with my son Wesley, which I hope you're digging. We just hit episode number 25 of that show. Tom and Kyle's Comedy Action Hour, which we have to get back on track. I have the most fun doing that show of any of the 3 shows that I do, because Kyle and I have been bros for a long time. A long freaking time. I'm not going to tell you how long, because I'm old, and it depresses me, to be quite honest with you. But we got to get back on the same page. We've had major technical difficulties between the 2 of us, either his side or mine. And as we always say, dude, life beckons. So stay tuned for that. But I had to throw that plug in there. My apologies. Hey, man. Man's got to eat. Writers got to eat. We're starving artists over here, dude. Got to do what we got to do, right? Let's talk about the 2nd anniversary that we just reached, the Apex, a milestone, I guess you could say, for me personally. Just recently hit the 6-year mark of being a quote-unquote professional. A professional with Bleacher Report, which is, well, very freaking cool. I can't tell you how cool that is. I started with the website in 2010, and I became a feature columnist rather quickly, which was very awesome. You got to work your way. I don't know if it works this way now, but I had to work my way up to feature columnist, and I finally got there, and it was very cool. And then after 14 months of being on the website and really, putting my work in and putting my time in, I got noticed by one of the editors who liked my work, contacted me, and made me a paid consultant. So for the first time in my life, I got paid for my work. And to this day, I'm humbled by that. Every time I get to re-sign a contract with BR, I'm humbled. It means a lot to me. Every time I collect money from anyone that I write for, and even those who their only pay is a thank you, it's very humbling. Whenever I read comments from fans and from readers in the audience who are just, they're patting me on the back or whatever, I'm beyond humbled by that. Sometimes I'm speechless. So yeah, and what's funny is, and I critique and I rip on Facebook quite a bit, because Facebook, in my estimation, is a whole bunch of nothing a lot of times, and that's topic for another day, another kind of podcast, I suppose. But one of the reasons I knew that this particular anniversary had come along was because of the memories, the stuff that just pops up. Hey, remember this post from last year or whatever it was? And it popped up, and I'm like, dude, really? It's been that long? So yeah, I wasn't really thinking about it. Like I said, it just come up. So there you have it. There's the 2 anniversaries out of the way. We got more coming. I mean, I'm not done. It's not like I'm going to retire or anything. As long as BR is going to have me, I'm going to be there. I'm going to keep trying to do quality work, keep trying to keep my name out there. Camel Clutch blog gave me my first real break. I'd written for another website before then that didn't really go much of anywhere. Did a couple small things of my own before I started Boink Studios, before Kyle and I started Boink Studios, and me on the website especially. And I wrote for a website that I won't name because I did quite a nice little body of work there, but I didn't like the way it ended. And I don't much care for what they're doing now. I just don't agree with it. They're growing. So, my little, minor protest doesn't mean anything to anyone, and that's fine. But I just didn't like where it was going, where it was headed, the way it was sounding all the time. So I, took my bags and left. Took my ball and went home, right? I also have not written in a while for Sportskeeda. There's no drama there. I just haven't got back to it. One of the editors I worked with there really, really, really went out of his way to get me more on board, to get me to produce more content. Very humbling, again, flattering. I wasn't trying to hold anyone up for more money or anything like that. I just, time is very precious to me. Do you know what I'm saying? And as it is for all of us, I'm no different than you guys out there. We're all working for a living, right? So time is very precious. And if I'm going to contribute that much more, then, things have to be right. And it was no disrespect on either side. And we just couldn't really put our heads together. I didn't want to stop writing. I don't have any intention to stop writing for them. I guess I'm just taking a sabbatical. So if they'll have me back, that's cool. I'll come back eventually. I'll get there eventually. So anyone from Sportskeeda, if you're listening, I'm still here, baby. So, we'll get back on track soon enough. But, yeah, Camel Clutch blog gave me what I consider to be my first real break. Eric Gargiulo, who I always hope I'm pronouncing his last name correctly, who I've invited on the show. But there again, I've got to get back to him. Timetables and whatnot, getting things together, getting the equipment to function properly has always been a test for me because, the laptop that I use is a PC. And so let's have fun with Windows. One day I'll write a book. It'll be a bestseller, Fun with Windows. And it'll just be how much I hate PC. But the goal is to eventually get a Mac laptop, which you guys know those things are not cheap. And I just want to move into the 21st century with the podcasting and with the columns as well, and get on a piece of hardware that is going to stand the test of time. It's not going to get crazy viruses and threaten to shut down every 2 seconds. And then I go to start using Google and it freezes. It takes 20 minutes to load a page like it's dial up. That stuff gets old, man. And I say all this with my fingers crossed that suddenly everything won't shut down right now out of spite toward me for my comments toward the hardware itself. But no, man, it just, like I said before, the whole point of this is to try to get your name out there. The whole point of the show is not only to have fun, but to get the brand out. First it was the Tom Clark brand. Now it's the Boink Studios brand. Now it's a mixture of both, and that's really what I'm doing is I'm trying to get myself out there. I managed to do that in quite a big way when John Layfield started his own website called the Layfield Report. And you guys know, familiar with that. Layfield Report ran for a couple, 2-3 years, I think. And he started bringing on freelance writers. I reached out. He reached back. We spoke. He liked my work. He was familiar with me already, which was cool. And I got a gig on the front page of his website there. And it was cool. There was only a handful of us there. Those guys are still writing, and I am too. And John eventually shut the website down, which I didn't see that coming. Kind of sucked, to be honest with you. But it's cool. He gave us all some great parting comments. And I'm proud to say that to this day, John Bradshaw Layfield owes me money. So I say that firmly tongue-in-cheek, man. Totally cool with me. I have no problem with that at all. But yeah, JBL still owes me some cash. So I'm still waiting on that check, John, just so you know. But, there's been a lot of stuff said about John in recent months. I can't comment on any of that stuff because I don't know him like that. Anytime I've ever dealt with him, he's been nothing but professional. I mean, what else would he be with me, right? But he's been nothing but professional. So I really appreciate that and respect him for it. So maybe something like that will come around at some point. Full disclosure, I was in talks with Paul Heyman's people for a while there. Could not come to terms on anything, to be honest with you. I spoke all the time to one of his top guys, the guy that runs his digital content online and stuff like that. could not come to terms, couldn't put our heads together. And it was, again, no disrespect on either side. He said that Paul liked my work, knew my stuff. And I've always been a big fan of Paul, always have been. When I was in the business, I tried to emulate him, I guess, to some degree, which we'll get to. But just couldn't come together. And maybe we will one day. I'd love to do something for him. He does a lot of MMA stuff on the Heyman Hustle, which is just not my thing, and it's nothing personal. But who knows? I may reach out again one of these days and try my hand at something a little bit different. So we'll see what happens. I'm trying to keep all my options open because, again, it's all about getting the name out there. It's all about getting the recognition. It's all about moving ahead. We want to move ahead, not backward. We'll get to that again later. Okay. So let's go from that to the part that hopefully I won't lose anyone. And if you can hear me typing, yes, I'm typing. I like to leave myself notes if I can sometimes during the course of a show. I don't want to forget anything. Do you know what I'm saying? Let's go ahead and get to this. This is the part that I hope won't bore you to tears, my story. This is the whole topic, right? This is not just the thank yous and everything else. It sounds like I'm writing my eulogy here or something like that. Oh, God knows. What am I thinking? But this is a lot more than that. This is my story, so I'm going to give it to you from the beginning. My first memory involves pro wrestling. And it was my dad and me, and I might have been 2, maybe 3. Could have been younger, I don't know. But I'm wanting to say between 2 to 3. Went to a local pro wrestling show here in North Carolina, in the town I grew up in. And I remember 2 things about that. I remember Wahoo McDaniel's headdress and Ric Flair's robe. Those are the 2 things I remember. I remember the seats were not good. But they were all folding chairs, no risers or anything. It was flat all the way across. And I just remember being excited. And those memories have stayed with me for years. My dad was a huge pro wrestling fan. And I remember I would sit in the floor and watch TV, as I always watched TV when I was a kid. I would sit in the floor and watch it. From pro wrestling to cartoons to Starsky and Hutch to all kinds of different things. I'm dating myself, aren't I? It's cool, man. It's all right. You know, the gray hairs tell a story. That's all I'm saying. But yeah, I was always a pro wrestling fan. My dad was never into baseball. He was never into organized team sports, professional team sports, as it were. Wasn't a baseball fan, NFL fan, NBA fan, hockey fan, nothing like that. But he was a pro wrestling fan. So we always had pro wrestling on my TV in my house. If it was a Saturday, it was always on. It was on the channel. It was on. And we were watching. And if we were up moving around, if I was having lunch or whatever, or breakfast, wherever it was, because it's Saturday morning, 6:05 in the evening also, man. Worldwide Wrestling on TBS. And, if we were up moving around, it would be on the TV. It would have the sound going. And, God, I have such great memories of those days, man. I can't even tell you. But yeah, my dad was a big pro wrestling fan, and I grew up that way. And the memories mean a lot to me now. And a lot of those memories had to do with who I grew up watching. You guys know this about me. I was a huge Dusty Rhodes fan. I still am. Rest in peace, Dust. Dusty Rhodes was my idol as a child. And especially after my dad passed away. He died when I was 4.5. This was 1978. And, I'm a grown man. I've never got over that. I have an 8-year-old, my Wesley, that I speak about in the program all the time. He and I have the podcast, by the way. You guys know that too, right? Please go listen. It's fun. But, Wesley's named after my dad. And Wesley has helped heal a lot of the wounds, to be honest with you, but they're still there. They're never going to close fully, I don't think, but they've gotten better with time. So I'm not as, I still feel it, but it's not as fresh as it has been in years past. Some days it's harder than others, and for any of you out there who've ever lost a loved one, you know what I mean. You don't fully get over it. It's always there, and only you understand what you're going through. So it was tough, but my dad was a big guy. Dusty was a big guy. My dad was a blue-collar, hard-working guy, so was Dusty. You know what I mean? And my dad wasn't as colorful as Dusty by any stretch, but he was a good man. And I always looked at Dusty as being a good man. So when my dad passed, I sort of gravitated toward Dusty like I never had before. And I didn't realize it until years later, just how much I had connected to Dust. And I had built this kindred spirit with him that he never knew existed because he never met me. And Dusty had a lot of kids in this country. Do you know what I mean? He had a lot of sons he didn't know about that he inspired. And I was one of them. And I appreciate it then. I appreciate it now. If I ever had the chance to meet Cody or Dustin, I would love to shake their hand and tell them that. Maybe we'll try to get one of those guys on the show one of these days. Who knows? But I would love to. I just to put forth a good word and tell these guys what their father meant to me personally. I'm sure they hear it all the time. And that's the great legacy to live with. Who knows, maybe one day my son will be able to say that about his old man. One can only hope, right? But, yeah, man, I grew up with the business. It was always on, and I kept it on. And as I got older as a child and started watching Dusty versus the Horsemen, the Rock and Rolls versus the Midnights, the Russians versus Magnum, Wahoo versus Tully, Baron von Raschke, Paul Jones' Army, the Boogeyman Jimmy Valiant. Oh, I got stories about Boogeyman, dude. I'm not going to play. I'll get to that later. But one of the things I'm happiest about when it comes to where I am, and North Carolina gets a bad rep, and we deserve a lot of it, because there's a lot of backwards thinking people in this state, as there are in every state. I'm not trying to bash where I live. Don't misunderstand me. I'm raising my kid here. I like it to a certain extent, right? I'm raising my kid here. I'm trying to teach him right from wrong and trying to teach him the right ideas, especially in this day and age. Terrible time to be raising a child in my estimation, but I love my kid to death and I got to do it. You know what I'm saying? He's got to learn the right way. But one of the things I love about this state is that when it comes to the South, pro wrestling fans are just a different breed. And that means that we just get it. It's a different vibe. You watch, back during the days when it was the World Wrestling Federation, before WrestleMania was a thing, and before they really started taking the world by storm, if you live down south and you're turning the TV and you come across WWF, you turn it right back to the NWA. You did, because it was a circus. Vince McMahon was the ringleader. I mean, they had dogs, they had birds, they had snakes, they had, I don't know, whatever else they had. Pigeons. They had everything imaginable. And muskrats. They had wild rats. They had, a locust. God, whatever the frick they had, man. It was Wild Kingdom. It was Mutual of Omaha's Wild Kingdom. Ringling Brothers' Wild Kingdom. It was insanity to me. And that, to me, was cartoon wrestling. And I didn't hear that term for a long time, but the first time I heard someone say that, put those two words together, I thought, man, that's 100% true. Cartoon wrestling. I saw Dusty and Rick talk about the paper champion up north. I knew they were talking about Hogan. Do you know what I mean? And that's what I grew up watching. I knew what real wrestling was, how it was really portrayed. I knew what it meant. I knew what it meant to me, to my dad, to my family. I knew how much I loved it, how I would sit on the floor and hate the heels and love the baby faces. And I knew what wrestling was. And I knew that what I saw from WWF was not wrestling. And boy, that's been the case a lot over the years, hasn't it, folks? But that's how it was then. And such a fan of the Territory days. Talk a lot about the Attitude Era. And an Attitude Era, to this very moment, remains the best era to a lot of fans. The best days in the history of the business. I can't deny that it was an exciting time. And I spoke about this, I think, on the last program. But I can't sit here and tell you that it was my favorite time to be a fan, because it wasn't. The Territory days were my best time to be a fan. I just loved it. Best era of the business, in my estimation, bar none. Just an amazing time to be a fan, to watch the product, to see these guys, get in the ring and prove themselves and be tough as nails and be real men. The NWA was full of John Waynes. You know what I mean? Dusty was the first one, or the top one, and there was a lot of John Waynes, a lot of cowboys underneath of them too. It's like watching Wild West. Great stuff, man. Fantastic stuff. I mean, just, you can't, in my estimation, you can't compare. And I mean, the Attitude Era was full of insanity. It was full of hijinks and sexual innuendo and all this other garbage that I didn't believe it needed. But, it made a lot of money. A lot of guys made a lot of money, which is a good thing, by the way. We are always a fan of the boys making money in the business. It's important. It's a big thing. And I mean that. I'm not just saying that, man. Anytime a guy can make money in the business, it's a good day. So, no diss on anyone for that. But I don't know. There's something about the Attitude Era that just doesn't appeal to me the way the Territory Days did. I think you need to learn your lessons and you need to know what you're watching and what it can be. Not just what it's morphed into then and now, but what it was then and what it can be, what it could be again. The only way you know that is by learning your history. And folks, if you don't learn your history, you're never going to know what came before, who came before. It's important in my opinion. So that's why I feel the Territory Days is the best of all time. So let me tell you a little bit about, and again, as I said, I grew up with it, but just because you're a wrestling fan, you didn't talk about it. It's a different time. I tell my son now that he's got it made, because when I was his age, I was a pro wrestling comic book nerd as well, but I wasn't exactly, most popular kid in my class, let alone my school. But my kids, dude, our people have inherited the earth. If you're listening to this and you're a geek or a nerd, dude, you have inherited the earth. I mean, our day in the sun has come. Rejoice. Rejoice, fellow nerds. Our day has arrived. Our day of reckoning is at hand. It's the truth, man. I mean, what a great time to be a kid. I say it's a terrible time to raise a kid, but if you're a kid, it's a great time to be a kid because, man, you kidding me right now? Especially if you're a nerd little kid. You got it made. And I did. I mean, well, I do now, right? I didn't maybe at the time, but I was having fun. That's all I knew. I mean, I didn't go around telling everyone I watched pro wrestling because, again, it was ripped to shreds by some people. Jerks. Get a life. Find something else to do with yourself besides bag on me all the time, right? But, no, man, like I said, I grew up with it. And my kid's having a time of his life now. Of course, he doesn't know the persecution that came with being a geek in this country. You know what I mean? Oh my God, the way things have changed, it's unreal. So let's fast forward a bit, shall we? I got in the business around the year 2000. In fact, I think it was the year 2000, to be honest. I know that because something else ended right before the year 2000. It was a relationship. And it's funny because I time a lot of the things in my life in terms of who I was with at the time or where I was working or what I was doing with myself. And I tend to center everything after that point around that time. So that's how I remember. Crazy I don't remember just for the sake of remembering, right? Hey, man, you get older. If you're not older, you're going to get older. And trust me, you'll know when it happens because things will start getting a little fuzzy to you. Isn't that terrible? It wasn't that long ago either, right? 17 years now. But I got in the business in the year 2000. And again, a small town here in North Carolina. A friend of mine who had been in the business I've known since, elementary school. Known for my whole life now. But he was in the business already. And they ran shows every Saturday night. And he kept telling me, he said, dude, come up to the show. Come up to the show. I always had a reason not to go. I was working or I was sick or I was out or I was doing whatever I was doing with myself. And he's like, look, you got to come. So finally I came because he's like, first you got to come see the show. Then it became, you got to get in the show. And I said, well, dude, those are two entirely different things. I can't just come in. I mean, I want it to be there. I knew very little about how it worked backstage, right? I mean, the internet was around, but I've had very little knowledge of how it was supposed to work backstage, how matches were booked, what happened, how guys spoke to each other, that sort of business. And I didn't want to come in like a know-it-all because I'm going to tell you, when you do, buddy, they never forget it. Trust me when I tell you that. So I started going to the shows. By the way, if you're noticing my voice, I apologize. It's a bit late, and for some reason my voice tends to leave when it's late. Terrible time to be recording, isn't it? It's not exactly these smooth, sultry tones you've been accustomed to. By the way, I was reminiscing the other day about WKRP in Cincinnati. I don't even know why I'm throwing this out to you right now, but I got to share this with you. Dr. Johnny Fever and Venus Flytrap. The two coolest names in the history of television. I saw some movie the other day, And there was an older guy in it. I kept going, man, dude, I know this guy. Who is this person? Oh my God, it's Howard Hessman. That's Dr. Johnny Fever. Dude, I freaked out. He is old. All due respect, I'm just saying. It freaked me out. But every time I lean into the mic, I just want to give a Dr. Johnny Fever intro. Put the dark sunglasses on. Do you know what I'm saying? I still might do that eventually. Who knows here? I mean, for all you know, I'm wearing sunglasses right now. Who knows, man? Well, I've got glasses on, but they're not sunglasses. How about that? Another sign of another indicator of age, right? Who knows? But so yeah, man, I got in the year 2000, and I finally broke down and came to a show. And from the moment I came to that show, I was hooked. I was hooked. The first time I came, I made the mistake that a lot of fans do when they go to their first local pro wrestling show. And yes, it was my first. I sat there in that crowd and I looked around and I said, this place is dirty. It was a Legion Hall, by the way. The floors are dirty. Popcorn on the floor. You know, their sound system's not that good. They have no pyro. The lighting's bad. The stage curtain is dirty. The ring mat's dirty. That ring sounds like it's going to fall apart any moment. Which it did at some point. But I saw the guys in the ring. Some of them were in shape. Some of them weren't. The term Weekend Warriors immediately came to mind. And I kept watching this and I kept thinking, I kept making the mistake again. A lot of people make. I compared it to WWE. I kept, in my head, I had Monday Night Raw, and I was so far removed from Monday Night Raw, it wasn't even funny. This is what I was watching on TV. Do you know what I'm saying? But I kept watching. And I came back the next week, and I came back the next week. Pretty soon I couldn't stop coming. And my friend's like, look, dude, let me get you in. And I'm like, dude, I can't work. Or I didn't even say work. I didn't know what the word work meant at that time. I said, I can't wrestle. I don't know what I'm doing. And he's like, well, we're not going to put you in the ring. You're not ready for that. If you don't want to be a wrestler, don't be a wrestler. We can make you a manager. We need a manager. So I got in. He introduced me to the promoter. Promoter said, okay, we'll give you a shot. I shaved my head bald because it felt like the thing to do. I wore dark glasses, leather jacket, black shirt, black pants, black shoes, black gloves. I was the new manager of the EOD, the Elements of Darkness. And long before Baron Corbin ever started using the moniker EOD for End of Days, we were Elements of Darkness. Trust me, we can prove it. Don't nobody be throwing crap at us here, man. But I remember sitting down. This is how into it I was. I wanted to be right. I remember sitting down with a notebook and writing down possible names. And I think the first name on the list was Priest. And I went from Priest to Prophet to Bishop. I wanted a sort of dark, religious undertones to it. For whatever weird reason, I chose to go that route. But I wanted it to be dark and gothic and just cold-hearted, that kind of thing. So after looking over the list for a while, I eventually landed on Bishop. And I don't think I was watching Alien at the time, but it just jumped out at me. Something about it just sounded cool. Plus, I was a fan of the X-Men. Still am. So I landed on the name Bishop, and I said, I think this is the one. So I went forward with it. So Bishop was born, and I had my look, and I had my name, and I just needed to get in there. So I got in there. And my God, we always compared ourselves. We said we were a hybrid. We were a hybrid of the NWO and the Legion of Doom. That's what we were. We all had the black. We all had the dark glasses. We always used the sinister, ominous music. And we tried to change our entrance music every week because we wanted to keep the fans guessing. 9 times out of 10, they didn't know who was coming out of the curtain. Funny part is, we were the top heels in the company, but we were cheered all the time. I mean, the whole Stone Cold effect was in full play. It's normal now. It's rule of thumb now. I mean, since Stone Cold, if you don't cheer for the heels, you're stupid. There's that thing again, right? But at that time, we were clearly trying to have a separate line between the heels and the faces, just like any smart promotion would. It's what you're supposed to do, right? Dude, we got cheered all the time. And it was fun. I loved it. I loved being mean. I loved being hateful. And I got to cut a promo my first night there, which was awesome. And I written that thing down and rehearsed it 1,000 times the week before. Isn't that weird? But after a while, I didn't have to do that anymore. I could just do it on the fly. I could just go in there. I've never had a problem with public speaking. I took speech. I took a speech class in college and made an A in that sucker twice. Don't even remember why I took it twice. Maybe it was fun. I don't know. But yeah, I made an A twice in that class, and I just loved it. And it was easy for me. I don't know why, but it was real easy. And I got to get in the ring, and I got to speak, and I got to run the people down. And we tried to run a PG show. A lot of times it's PG-13. Sometimes it was a light R, depending on the mood the boys were in that night, what kind of language started coming out of their mouths, what they did in the ring, right? But, for me, I was always under the belief, and still am today, that if I'm a manager at ringside and I have to curse at you, then that's cheap heat. I don't need to do that. I don't need to curse. I can get you to hate me within 20 seconds. Give me 10. And I can, and I have, and I could do it right now if I had to. And that's just, it's a matter of knowing what buttons to push. You can look at the crowd, look at how they're dressed, look at how they're looking at you, what kind of hats you got on. If you got a Duke hat, tell them you love Carolina. You know what I mean? And that's how you start a fight with somebody. Trust me, if you don't live in the South, you don't know what I'm talking about. But that's how you start a fight with somebody. Believe that. But you find a way. You find a way to connect with the fans and either make them love you, or make them hate you. And I could make people hate me all day long. That's a gift. I got that crap in real life too, baby. Trust me on that one as well. I can make you hate me all day long, Jack. Not a problem at all. But it's true, man. True story. So yeah, I loved it. I was nervous first few times out, and then it just became so much fun. The guys started accepting me little by little by little. It took a while. And EOD was rolling, man. I think we had all the championships at one time except the heavyweight title. And had the heavyweight title. One of the guys did. I'm trying to remember. Maybe they didn't. They might have had it before I got there. But had all the belts at one time except for the heavyweight title. And I had so much fun. It was the most fun time ever. Now, I can't speak for any other promotion out there, how they do things. We had guys in our locker room that had their demons. If you want to hear about the seedy underbelly of local pro wrestling, of independent promotions or whatnot, you always hear about guys abusing drugs and alcohol and women and stuff, ring rats all around the place. A lot of that was true, I'm not going to lie. However, you have to remember what we're talking about here. We're talking about a show that ran every Saturday night. We might run 2 nights a week if we got another building or another place or like a parking lot show or something. It's possible. But 9 times out of 10, it was every Saturday night at a small Legion Hall. The guys in the ring had a job to go to, either that Sunday or that Monday. They had a wife they were going home to, or a girlfriend and kids for a lot of them. And they didn't have time to get in trouble. They couldn't afford to get in trouble. They had to keep themselves smart, had to keep themselves sober, had to keep themselves on track because they were going back to their life. Do you know what I'm saying? They weren't going on the road. Any guys that we brought in from outside promotions would breeze in for a weekend shot and not come back for 2 months. Those guys are the ones that work. Those talents that work everywhere. We had homegrown talent that stayed homegrown. They didn't leave. They didn't go anywhere else for the most part. So their lives and everything they did was in that small town. So if they made a fool of themselves in the Legion Hall on Saturday night, they had a lot of people looking at them funny on Monday morning. Get that? So I didn't see a lot of the stuff that you hear about. Yeah, we had ring rats. I got hit on by a couple, and we're not going to talk about it. Let's just say that a man is not as desperate as you may think he is for the attention of the opposite sex, because at the time I was, suffering from a relationship gone awry and healing from it, basically healing. Getting the business was part of the healing process, and it helped tremendously. But I wasn't looking for anything. Side note to that, a good friend of mine who I've also known for years and years and years now, he started coming to the show. He didn't have anything else to do, so I invited him up. Next thing you know, he's doing commentary with me at the table, and I'm the color guy. He's the lead commentary guy. And after a while, people start putting 2 and 2 together and thinking that I'm gay. And I'm like, what? The first time the promoter told me this, I laughed. He's like, you want me to tell everybody you're not? I said, I don't care what you tell them, dude. I don't. It doesn't matter to me either way. Like, I didn't care. To this day, I don't care. It didn't get under my skin like I think some people thought it would. I'm happy to live where I am, But as I told you before, there's a lot of backwards thinking in this state. So I know the stuff that was being said, and a lot of it was probably not kind. I really don't care. I never have. I never will. So I told him, I said, people can think what they want, dude. Don't go out on a mission to clear my name of being of actually being a straight guy. Don't try to go out there to prove it to anything to anyone. I don't care what they think. If they're not comfortable with me, that's their deal, not mine. If anyone has guts enough to ask me the question face to face, I'll answer it. But I don't want that. Someone going around playing damage control for me on a situation that doesn't even require damage control, dude. So yeah, it's messed up how people can be sometimes, but I just didn't care about it. So I didn't care about the women part of it. I'm straight edge, have been my whole life. So I had no desire to drink or do drugs because I've never drank and done drugs before in my entire life. I should say maybe I'm modified straight edge if that is such a thing, because I've had painkillers and I've had NyQuil. I've had painkillers recently because I had a cluster headache, which I had for 4 days straight, which, by the way, if you've ever had one, murder. Complete murder. You'll be praying for death in no time, trust me. Green Reaper shows up, you let him in the house, man. Fix him some dinner, baby. You're ready to go. You know what I'm saying? That's how bad it hurt, no joke. So yeah, I guess I'm what you might call a modified straight edge guy. That's me. So I didn't care about that. I was there for the wrestling. I wasn't there to get rich. Let me just tell you something right now. If you're talking about the independent circuit, 9.9 times out of 10, no one's getting rich. You're lucky if you get gas money. Trust me. Promoter's not making anything. If he says he is, he's lying. The only way a promoter make a lot of money is by bringing in legends, and you got to pay those guys. So there goes your profit, right? So no one's getting paid, despite what you think. Hate to burst your bubble. Hate to break kayfabe, as it were, but no one's getting paid. I was offered money a couple of times. I said no. I was legit driving less than 20 minutes to Legion Hall to get there from where I lived at the time. And I worked for free, and I would have done it again. I would do it again, probably, maybe. But but I was happy to do it. I was living a dream, and I wanted to be there. I didn't have a desire to be a wrestler. I didn't have a desire to go full-time on anything. I just wanted to be part of it. Everyone wants to be part of the show. Everyone that's in the building that night that's not a paid customer, that's just hanging out or whatever who he or she is, wants to be part of the show. There's just such a desire to be connected to it because it's just so cool. Dude, that's the easiest answer to everyone asking. It's just so flipping cool, man. And that's what you have to remember. So no, I didn't accept money. I didn't get into the women or the drugs or the alcohol or anything else funky that might have been going on. I legit just wanted to have fun. The craziest we ever got, and was 2 or 3 of us would go up the road to the Shoney's every Saturday night after the show and have breakfast. And after a while, they started leaving the breakfast bar up for us because they knew we were coming. The first couple times they weren't happy about that, but we tipped really well, so that helped. But yeah, dude, we ate like every Saturday night after the show. And that was it. We sat there and talked. I remember sitting there and talking with the guys about what can we do to make it look better? How did it go tonight? What can we do next week to make the match go better than it did tonight? I mean, these are guys that were serious. They may not have been like, I want to make this, the career for the rest of my life. But while I'm in it, I want to have fun and make it look good. I want to look good doing it. And that's what matters the most. That's why when a guy gets dropped on his head, the first thing he says when he goes back through the curtain is, did it look good? It's the truth. I had a guy, I've seen guys bleeding. I mean, like stuck pigs. I mean, all you can see the whites of their eyes and their teeth. I swear to God. And they get back through the curtain. The first thing out of their mouth is, how'd that look? And oh, baby, you look great. You know what I'm saying? It's the truth. It's pride. It's pride that guys bring. And if you don't have pride, you'll develop it quick. Because somebody's going to humble you and you'll get proud. You know what I'm saying? You'll get humbled and you'll have respect. And that's what matters the most in the business. You can see guys that don't have respect. You can see it on the big shows today. Trust me. But you can especially see it on the indie circuit. If a guy's just kind of dialing it in, just phoning it in every week, well, guess what? He don't have a future. And not only does he not have a future, but no one cares about him because he doesn't care about anyone else. So you don't want that. No one wants that. But I loved it. I had such a blast. I can't begin to tell you guys. And I got to tell you a few stories. This is my show. This is my story, isn't it? So freak, man. Whatever. Do it. I had fun as a manager. I got tossed around, which I didn't have a problem with. I got knocked about, which is cool. Because when you're a heel manager, you're going to get knocked down eventually. But I I used to wear these rings, and one of the rings I had was on my my right ring finger, right hand ring finger, and it was a skull, a great big silver skull, and I had to work a guy over. And so what happened is one of the guys in the ring would lay the dude over the second rope and then get the ref's attention. If you're a heel manager in the business, then if you're out there managing a single or tag team, either one, doesn't matter. Same difference either way. You know that when the guy in the ring, your guy in the ring, gets the ref and turns the ref's back, it's your turn to go to work. Which means that dude's probably been fed to you outside the ring or he's laying over the ropes. So I go to hit him. And I stiffed the dog out of him. He says I did. I still don't remember doing it. I just remember tagging him a couple of times. And then the ref turns back around. I played dumb like I didn't do anything. And maybe I was just so fired up that I didn't pull my punch like I should have. My working punch was a bit stiff. Maybe that's the problem. And I guess I just didn't feel my knuckles at all. But that night, he's like, dude, you clocked me, man. I'm like, I did? He's like, dude, freak, man, don't kill me out there. And I'm like, I did? Like, I didn't even know it. And he claimed he had the imprint of the skull on his forehead. And I never saw it, but he said, it's right here, it's right here. And I'm like, dude, you're out of your mind. You know what I'm saying? But, yeah, so the next week, we're out there, and I'm outside of the ring. I usually went to the ring with the guys, got in the ring, said a few things on the mic, and then gave the mic back to ring announcer, and I get out of the ring. So I get out of the ring. I'm standing out there. My team's in the opposite corner from where I'm standing outside the ring. I got my back turned talking to the crowd. Well, here he comes, the guy I just told you about. And he reaches through the ropes, and I used to wear a ball hat, black ball hat and glasses. He flips my hat off. Didn't tell me he was going to do it. One of the rules in the business, and again, I can only tell you my experience. So, 50% of the stuff may not even apply to WWE or TNA, Ring of Honor, New Japan, or anyone else. I don't have any idea. I can just tell you what I went through, what I saw. But one of the rules that I was taught very early on, don't do anything with anyone unless they know you're going to do it. If you're going to lay hands on somebody, it's fine, but be sure you talk to them before the match and be sure they know you're coming. Well, he didn't tell me. So he kind of surprised me. So when he flipped my hat off, he kind of popped me in the back of the head pretty hard too. And I almost went down. And I stood there, I turned around and said, what the frig was that? Well, here comes my tag team. They're in the ring. They start wailing on him. For real, like straight up. So then they get through, everything calms down. The match starts. The match ends. The bell rings. I get back through the curtain. And he's irate. He's upset. Now, he's not so upset he's going to pick a fight because there's like 10 of us and one of him, right? In my little clique there. But he's upset nonetheless. So he comes to me and he's like, dude, what was that? He's looking at our guys and they're like, dude, you jumped our manager. Did you know he was going to do it? And I'm like, no. Well, I didn't know what to do. I kind of threw him under the bus and I shouldn't have. But I'm like, yeah, I didn't know. And so he's like, you don't touch our manager. And you can't do that in front of the crowd that we want to answer for it. And that was the bottom line. The crowd response and what it looks like and sounds like in front of the crowd, it makes all the difference in the world. That's why when you see guys against the fence or against the guardrail, even on TV today, if they're that close to the fans or if they're working their way through the crowd, they're going to be tagging each other for real. You have to. You know what I'm saying? You can't do a, slap your abdomen and punch. Slap your leg punch like The Rock does. You can't do that stuff. Just to get sound effect. Can't do that. Not in the crowd, not right by the railing, because people are going to know that stuff. They're going to know it's worked. So, yeah, man, it's all about what looks good in front of the crowd, what looks good, what sounds good, what is good, and that's what it's all about. So, yeah, I was roughed up, got popped, worked out a whole spot where I was supposed to do the, throw a clothesline and miss and turn around and get thrown in the corner, and I screwed up the whole spot, to be honest with you. The adrenaline was pumping. I hadn't been there very long and screwed it out of all the pieces. But I got back through the curtain, and the guy that laid me out, he's like, baby, you okay? And I'm like, dude, I'm fine. I feel great. I said, dude, I am so sorry I screwed up because, man, it looked good. Don't worry about it. Everything's cool. So, I had a lot of guys around me that I have to give major props to because they really did. When a new guy comes in, you can do one of two things. You can turn your back on him and say, he's not going to take my spot. I don't even want him here. You can do that. Or you can look at it and say, you know what, let's give the guy a hand. Someone gave me a hand, I'll give him a hand. Let's all enjoy this and have fun. And that's what he did. Because he's like, because I'm part of the same show, right? If I screw up my end, he's going to look silly too. It's a package deal. You're not on an island. Even though that's the way our locker room was, we were separated in islands in that locker room. Crazy. We had our own little cliques. We had EOD on one side. We had this group of guys on the other. This group of guys on the other. We had the young guys sitting together, the veterans sitting together, EOD sitting together, this group sitting together, this group sitting together, referees sitting together. It was crazy. Absolutely crazy. Happened all the time. I could fill another podcast, or several, with all the stories I got of the business when I was in. So I'll just give you a few here. But I got thrown around. Got whacked with a kendo stick. Felt great. Got whacked with a chair a couple of times. When I really, really started flexing and stretching my wings, I guess you could say, was after the EOD stopped. Good friend of mine I was telling you about before, he decided to call it a day, so he retired. And he left the EOD to us. He said, I'm leaving it to you. It's yours to do with as you will. And so we all talked about it and said, we can't continue. It's not right. Didn't feel right. Wasn't going to be right again. So instead, we ran an angle. If you're familiar with WCW's New Blood versus the Millionaires Club, we did that. And it was sort of our established veterans versus our new guys. So we ran that gimmick, and it was dumb. Because the new guys couldn't commit to anything because they were young, had girlfriends, had stuff to do on Saturday night. So the very next week after we did this big reveal of who we were as a unit, half the young guys didn't show up. So it was kind of a bummer, right? But at the time, it seemed like a good idea, and everyone was on board. I say everyone was on board because by that time, I was part of the creative team. The creative team was me and the promoter and two other guys. And we sat and we did creative, I'm wanting to say Tuesday or Wednesday nights, maybe. Then we had the show on Saturday, and then usually that Sunday we all hooked back up and went to lunch and ate at this Mexican restaurant not far from where we worked. And that was our weekend. That was our week. And so my whole week was planned around the show. And like I said, it was a way to heal for me personally. It was a good outlet for me, but it was also something I'd always wanted to do. And I've always been a writer. You guys know that, right? That's what I'm doing now. Love it. I mean, everyone, when you're a pro wrestling fan as a kid, you dream of being in the ring, and I did too. I had the mattress and the floor and the cardboard championship belts that I'd cut out myself. I had big scraps of cardboard. I had my own entrance music with a little jam box. Yes, I called it the jam box. Tape recorder, thank you very much. And had gear, or tried to have gear, that kind of thing. And had either my cousin or my friends down the mattress. We were working, man. I had my own promotion, my own federation on paper. I'm not going to tell you. I don't want you to steal it. But it's lame. But I had all kinds of characters created, and I put myself in there sometimes. And then I started putting guys that I went to high school with in there as well as actual wrestlers and stuff, and had an entire federation on paper, storylines, big shows, characters, tag team names, manager names, brothers, sisters, women wrestlers, everything you could possibly imagine, had the whole thing. And, God, I was so connected. I did that stuff all the time. So by the time I knocked on the door getting in the business, it was just the coolest thing ever. Living my dream. That's what I always wanted. I wanted to be behind the scenes. Yes, I was the guy on the mattress as a kid working and wrestling, what I thought was wrestling at the time. But I wanted to be behind the scenes writing the storylines. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be on creative. So when I got the opportunity to work on creative for this small promotion, it didn't feel small to me at the time. It was awesome. I'm smiling like an idiot right now. I just had so much fun. And let me just tell you the resentment that came from some of the veterans when they found out I was one of the guys on creative now. They didn't like it. You know what I mean? Newcomer. What did I know? My first couple of meetings, and when I say meetings, it was in the dude's house. His kids running around, right? But we'd sit in his living room and we'd talk about what we're going to do that Saturday night. And after a meeting or two, they kept throwing it to me. I wasn't going to sit there with my mouth shut, so I started pitching ideas. Talking about what I liked, what I didn't like, what I thought was working, what wasn't working. After a while, those cold glances began being more like concentrated, focused listening. I wasn't a genius. I don't claim to be one now. I just had different ideas, that's all. And I got shot down sometimes I didn't. And it was a collective effort. It wasn't me saying what was going to happen. It was me giving my 2 cents worth because I was asked to be there and I was asked to be a part of this. And I'm like, if I'm going to be here, I'm going to talk to you. So I did. And that's what I tried to do. And, we had all kinds of things worked out, man. And we always tried to be moving forward. Wasn't always easy, of course. We started having internal strife in our locker room. The whole clique situation started to become a problem. You'd think we had like 20 Shawn Michaels back there. It was crazy. And this is not to bag on anyone. This is just the truth. It's just what it was. And, everyone's human. Do you know what I'm saying? I don't think anyone was doing it out of spite or ill will toward anyone else. I just think when you get that many different personalities in a room and told to coexist or else for no money, what? Yeah, that's a recipe for disaster. So we had issues. So our locker room was starting to fall apart. We had chaos behind the scenes. We had, well, this guy shouldn't be in charge of this guy, or whatever the case may be. I got to work more than just getting scuffled. I worked a match with the promoter because I had gotten too big for my britches, as they say down here in the South, right? And so I had this grand scheme of this grand idea of things to sort of take the power away from him and take the company. So we had to have this match, and the guy that was the special guest ref at one time was the top babyface who I had turned heel through my massive manipulation techniques. Because, master heel, that's me. So I trained for this match as much as a guy could train that's not an actual pro wrestler. We worked up a lot of spots in the match, he and I did, the promoter, and the guy being the ref was a big help to us. So we get to the actual match, and I'm ready. I got my singlet, I got my black denim. I'm trying to be like a fat Kevin Nash at the time, I guess you could say. Not too fat, be nice. But yeah, man, I tried to look the part and everything, and the character of Bishop had changed. He had evolved quite a bit over the past that year and a half, 2 years, whatever it was. But worked the match, took a chair shot that I knew was coming. Knew the chair was coming. Took it a lot that week. Got a headache every time because I got my freaking bell rung. So I knew it was coming. But because I knew it was coming, for some dumb reason, I threw my head back and braced. If you see it on tape, it's hilarious. It's so obvious that's what I'm doing, right? So I threw my head back and braced, and he had to swing. He was still swinging. Cut my forehead open, man. I bled like I bled like I was shot in the forehead with a pistol. Crazy. And it knocked me out I was out cold for a second or two. I know I was, because I did not remember hitting the mat. That's the thing. I did not remember hitting the mat. It hurts so much. So I tried to tell my 8-year-old now, anytime your friends might tell you that wrestling is fake, hit him with a chair and ask him how fake it feels. No, don't do that. He's 8, my God. But, nah, man, nothing about it feels fake. Trust me when I tell you that. The ring was hard. The first time I ever took a bump, flat back bump, it knocked the wind out of me. And I laid there, and it's like a movie. I lay there looking up at the bright lights, and there's 2 dudes, and they look over me, and they go, "Are you all right?" And I'm just laying there, they're laughing. Of course they're laughing. Why would they laugh at me? Why not laugh at the old man? Young man then, I guess. But I'm like, just give me a minute. All right, let me breathe for a second. But yeah, it takes its toll on you. These men and women deserve your respect. Why? Because they're overpaid or whatever, or they're living like a Hollywood lifestyle? Not at all. They're putting themselves on the line every time they get between the ropes. You guys know that. They're risking their lives, man, for our entertainment. Okay? That's how it is. And they have all the respect for me in the world they could possibly have. Because, again, I've been in the ring. I know how it feels. It's murder. And your back gets calloused up. You get calloused up. You don't feel it as much as you did before, but you're still bumping. And you're still getting hurt. And you're still taking high risks in order to pop the crowd. And every guy and gal is doing that right now as we speak. And it's happening all the time. That's the nature of the beast, right? You put your own personal pain aside to move ahead and to get something done. And try to become somebody. Try to become a name. I had fun. The internal strife in the locker room eventually shut us down. And we won't go into gory details, but needless to say, it was disappointing. But to this day, it makes me happy because I know our last show was fun. I had actually turned babyface, which I had never been face the entire time I was in the business. I'd never been face. So guys are like, "Can you really turn face, man?" I'm like, "Dude, I'll have me out of the palm of my hand." And I did, and it worked. I came back against our 2 top heels because I'd been laid out for a while after that match I just told you about. I was laid out. I was in the hospital recuperating, right? But I come back, and I end up popping both of them with a kendo stick, and then me and the promoter make nice and shake hands, and I become the commissioner. Bish, right? The commissioner is me. That was fun. But as I said, things kept going downward spiral for our little company there. We ended up running our last show and we lost our venue, lost our building. But that last match, man, that last show was just the best ever. It was the absolute best. And, oh my God, I had so much fun that night, dude. We had like a massive, it was either an 8 or 10 man tag. And I got the best comments that night. After the match was over, a couple of the guys out of the match itself came up to me and shook my hand and said, "Brother, let's do that again sometime. That was a blast, man. Thanks for doing that." It made me feel good every time I got a compliment. Because, buddy, when they don't like what you do for creative, they will tell you. They're not shy, man. No multi-million-dollar contracts involved. All the more reason for them to say something. Trust me when I tell you that, too. But, yeah, it made me feel good. Stroke the ego a little bit, right? That's what it is. Strokes the ego. But it was fun. I loved it. My God, I loved it. There was nothing about it I didn't love. It was just the coolest thing ever. And I miss the business. I'm not going to lie to you. I've had opportunities to get in. I've done some spots here or there where I've been like color commentary. I worked for a small promotion that was started by one of our guys in EOD named Viper, actually, called High Velocity Wrestling that used to run out of Hendersonville, North Carolina. Viper's moved on with his life since then and closed down HVW, but I got to meet some guys. I met Matt Hardy up there and got to interview him after I got on board with Bleacher Report, which was a cool deal. Matt Hardy's one of the most down-to-earth, most sincere dudes I've ever met in my entire life. Not for just being a wrestler, but just for being a guy. So very cool to meet him. John Laurinaitis, got to meet him. He came out to scout talent one night. Lo and behold, guess who one of the guys was in the crowd or in the locker room that we had that he was looking at? Dash Wilder. There you go. One half of the Revival. For my money, pound for pound, the best tag team in WWE. As far as technical ability goes, I firmly believe that. It's my opinion there. But Dash Wilder was Stephen the Fever Walters, who, of course, now is Dash Wilder. So the Revival trying to get back on their feet. We're all aware of what's happening with them right now, right? So all the best to both those guys. Get healthy, boys. Get back on TV soon, man. So yeah, like I said, I did some commentary for Viper and went back and forth to Hendersonville. Whew, that's a drive, baby. Let me tell you, 2 hours. Coming back down the road on a Saturday night, man. Blanking out. It's 3 a.m. I'm exhausted. Calling a 2.5, 3 hour straight show with one intermission, I think it was, go to the restroom, maybe get some bottled water, come back. I'd do it all again today if I could. Just a blast. But I tried to get my commentary skills up to par because my days of being a manager at ringside were over. And I did a couple managing spots here and there, but nothing major. But I was really intrigued by the commentary aspect of it. So I tried to start incorporating some new catchphrases, slogans, things out of the comic book world, things out of other organized professional sports, their play-by-play and commentary techniques, things like that, just to make myself sound credible. That's all I wanted to do. You know what I mean? So yeah, I've done a little bit here and there. It's been a while since I've done anything. I guess I am officially retired, come to think of it, at least from that part of the business. But I love it, and I can't possibly get everything into less than an hour podcast. It's not possible. So maybe one day we'll do an episode that's nothing but all of my times and experiences in the business. It might be like a 20-parter or something. I don't know. And just keep something in mind. I didn't do a third of what the boys in the ring did. And that's why I didn't take money. That's why I never put myself over anyone else, or I never tried to. Because those guys are the ones. Remember the guys I told you about that were working class Joes that had a job to go back to that Sunday or Monday morning? Who was I to take a spotlight from them? Who was I to put myself in their same league or whatever? Dude, I got to meet Jimmy Valiant and hang out with him. Jimmy watched my match, okay? And watched me take the cherry that popped me open. Got to go up to his training camp the next day in Virginia, West Virginia. And he's got a training center up there. And he showed his boys, pointed me out with my big bandage on my head, which was a cool moment for me. These were things I never thought I'd ever be able to do in my entire life. Got to meet and hang out with the Rock and Roll Express. How many people can say that? Got to meet Paul Jones, Barbarian. We had the Barbarian up so many times. Dude, crazy. He didn't want hardly anything on money, honestly. And in fact, we always thought he was undercutting himself. But Barb was a true professional in every sense of the word. We sat back there in the locker room one night, he and I did, and he's watching the TV with the younger guys working in the ring. And Barb's English is funny to listen to because it's not all, it's broken English, right? But he's like, young guys in the ring, good. That's good to see. Good young guys in the ring. Like, this is what you want. And I'm like, dude, what a cool guy. Like, he could have made it all about him. Where's my money? I'm the barbarian. Which he could have, dude. I mean, you guys remember him, right? I mean, he was a bruiser, man. But that was a cool deal. Being around him was awesome. And, you get to see guys that you grew up watching on TV. They're human like all the rest of us. First time I saw Boogie, he is old man sitting with his legs crossed, very calm. He's a health nut, by the way. Eats a lot of granola, or he did when I knew him. Gave up the hard partying lifestyle years ago. Had to. You're getting older, man. Stop it. Cut it out. You've sown your oats. You've done your business. Get done. Move on. Grow up. He did, for sure. He let it go. Got healthy. Good for him. We should all be that lucky, right? But laid back old hippie sitting there. Brother man, what's happening, baby? I swear to God. Coolest thing ever. Got to hang out with him and talk to him more than one occasion. He'd sit around and tell stories to us about the days of the NWA. Another guy that told stories to us was Gene Ligon, the original Thunderfoot. Mesmerizing. If you don't know Gene Ligon, go look him up. Mesmerizing stories he had for us. And again, we're coming full circle here, see, folks. Not just on the show, this episode, but on my life in the business. The same guys I grew up watching, either hating or loving, I got to meet, spend time with. Maybe do something in the ring with them. George South, number one George South. Coming down all the time for us. And George and I were involved in a spot in the ring one night. He put me over to the moon. Never would have imagined something like that. So, people talk about wanting to be in WWE one day. People have asked me, Tom, what's your ultimate goal of being a writer online? I want to work for WWE.com. That's my goal. That's the goal. That's what I want. And then I go from there. If I could secure that spot, I'd go from there. So that would be what I would want to do, for sure. That's my goal. That's what I would want. More than anything else in the world at this point in my state. In my professional life anyway. That's what I would want more than anything else in the world. Is to work for WWE in some capacity. But if I told you that my dreams weren't being fulfilled at the time when I was in the business, I'd be lying, because they definitely were. Best times ever. Very best times. Just the coolest times ever. I had a blast. I'd love to revisit those days. I've been asked that question too. My kid's 8. I've got the Goldberg syndrome happening right now, where it becomes, I kind of want my kid to see me in the business. Isn't that weird? But I don't know that it will ever happen. I don't know that I have the time to make it happen at this point, to be honest with you. But I asked my son, actually today, and I said, what would you think about, Daddy getting in the business again? He goes, no. I said, what? You wouldn't want to see me? He goes, no, you'll get hurt. Dude, that kind of made me tear up a little bit, to be honest with you. But, yeah, man, I miss it. Good times, good memories that I'll never lose. Like a lot of other good memories in my life. Growing up watching the business with my dad, getting in the business. Writing about the business now, I should say. All good memories. We should be so lucky to find something we love to do and to go out and make a way to do it. I'm very humbled and very fortunate to be the position I'm in right now. I've seen writers who have stopped, who have given up, or who can't move ahead because certain websites are not very professional. Don't do the right thing. They get discouraged. And brother, let me just tell you, I get discouraged all the time. I want to move forward more than what I have now. But, and writers will come back to the game as well. They will. A friend of mine online that she's a writer also, she's taking a break. And it's a lot to do with her life outside of the writing, and I get that. But she'll make it back. Because once you get in, it's hard to leave. It's kind of like getting in the business. People wonder why dudes are 50, 60 still coming back. Dude, it's hard to let go. And it's like that now too. And with my side of the business at this point, the journalistic side of the business, and that's what I call it. You can laugh at that if you want to. Sneer. It's okay. Totally fine, man. But that's how I look at it. The whole thing is about, our side of the business, the side of the business that it's a thankless job sometimes. The boys in the back tend to circle their wagons in the locker room when a pro wrestling writer publishes something one of them didn't want to hear, didn't want to say, or didn't want to like. And so when one of those guys says you're an idiot, they all say you're an idiot. I've been called an idiot plenty of times. Curtis Axel called me a moron. Said I would never have a clue how the business works. Okay, cool. And I was very respectful with the column I'd written, and I was very respectful of my response. And then I've got great comments over the years: Stone Cold Steve Austin, Chris Jericho, Shawn Michaels, Trish Stratus, Matt Hardy, of course, just men and women that I respect. And my voice has changed over, not just the voice you're hearing now that's dying, by the way, but my voice has changed since the time I started with Bleacher Report in 2010 to 7 years later today. I like to think I'm more balanced, that I'm more professional, that I'm more conscientious with my remarks and my comments. Because at the end of the day, I have to keep in mind, I have to remember that I'm writing about real people. That's the problem here. A lot of guys and gals don't remember that. They just write whatever they want to write. They don't have any consideration that what they say has repercussions and bearings and consequences over the people they write about. You see what I'm saying? In any walk of life, even in the print media, it's always been that way for generations now. You have to be cognizant of the fact that you are writing about a real person. Unless you're a fiction writer, that's what you're doing. So you have to be careful. Yours is not to go out and bash people upside the head. You cannot like the show, but show a lot of respect to the performers involved, which is what I try to do. I'll give you my opinion on how I thought it went, but at the end of the day, I'm not in the ring killing myself. They are. So who am I to sit back and critique them to the point of no return? I'll tell you what I thought about the match. I'll tell you what I thought about them. But it's always followed up with professionalism and respect. And it's always me looking at them saying, okay, look, this is them in the ring, giving forth their all. This is them in the ring doing everything that they can to get over, to earn a living in the business. I have to respect that. And that's just how it is. And it's not personal. It never has been. So, yeah, full circle, man. Again, before we take this home, we're going to do a few plugs. Then we're going to go somewhere else with this. Okay? BoinkStudios.com. You want to check out the writing career of yours truly that I just spent a lot of time talking about. Please do. You'll find my work on BoinkStudios.com. The links to Bleacher Report, Sportskeeda, Camel Clutch, they're all there. The links to the other two podcasts are there as well. Tom Clark's 30-Minute Fun Show, Tom Kyle's Comedy Action Hour. My apologies on the voice. I'm sorry it's dying away on you here. Next time we'll try to record a little bit earlier. That way it's not quite as late. Such an odd thing that happens to me. It's weird. But, yeah. So, that's where you can find us. Drop us an email, boinkstudios@yahoo.com. Follow us on Twitter and Facebook at Boink Studios. Everything you need to know about us is on the website. Everything you need to know about who we are, where we come from, what we're doing, what I'm doing. That's where you're going to find us. Drop us a line, man. Talk to us. Give us some comments, some feedback, words of wisdom. We appreciate it, as always. So, before we take this home, I have to say something maybe I should have led the program off with. I saved it to the end, forcing you to listen to the very last moment. How you like that? There's been a lot of talk about what happened in Charlottesville, Virginia, and I'm just another voice among the many that have spoken out against the violence there. But something struck me like I didn't think it would strike me, and that was Jimmy Fallon's monologue from The Tonight Show. And I saw it, and he's a funny guy. He's infuriating sometimes because he can be very annoying, right? Like he's begging for the laughter or begging for the attention. No disrespect. I'm just saying. You know what I mean? But I'm a fan of Fallon. I have no problem with the guy at all. So his monologue hit me like I didn't think it would. But one of the things he said in that monologue was that to not, and I'm paraphrasing, forgive me here, folks, but to not pay attention to it is to ignore it, to act like it never happened. And we can't do that. There are some stupid, stupid people in this country. I mean, hateful, stupid, bigoted, ignorant, racist, redneck, freaking morons, okay? There's a lot of them. You know who you are. And if you're one of them listening to the show, kindly turn it off. Delete your subscription, never come back, because I don't want to hear it anymore. I don't want to be a part of you. I don't want you to be a part of me. I want nothing to do with you. You're a freaking moron, and I don't appreciate anything you stand for. And it's my hope that you all go rot somewhere. How about that? You sit there and you wish the worst on people. You hate a race of people. You hate people for their color, for their gender, for their who they believe they are as a person. You hate and you mock and you ridicule and you laugh at and you want to hurt and you want to kill. To forward what purpose? So the earth can be full of morons like you? I don't think we need any more morons like you. I think we've got enough morons as it is. Okay? We don't need a new breed of morons being developed. However, in the year 2017, that's exactly what we have happening. Because all the guys in their 50s have kids. And their kids are having kids. And the old clan mentality is still alive and well, especially here in the South. And I'm here to tell you, it's scary. I got an 8-year-old son. Anyone ever tries to put a finger on him is a dead dog. Period. I don't care who you are. I will take you out. Believe that. My life means nothing next to my kids. Believe that too. Okay? My kid is never everything. Period. Come at me if you think I'm messing with you. So to imagine that I'm raising my kid in a world where suddenly somebody might have a problem with him because he's white. It goes both ways, folks. You know it goes both ways. The clan, the racist white rednecks out there, how close are they to turning on their own people? They already have. A lot of the people they hate on now are not black, not Native American. They're not any different race at all. They're white people. They turn on their own kind. I mean, what if someone targets my son? What do I do? How do I respond? I have to be concerned about these things. Do you see what I'm saying? We all should. The fact that there's even that much hatred left in this world should be frightening to you. It scares the living devil out of me. I just can't imagine it. I don't know what I would do. I don't know what I would say. But I know I would act. And I would act with everything I have in me. And I'm not going to make a joke. But no one would stand in my way. Nobody. Here's the bad part. If you retaliate, then you stoop to their level. So everyone out there within earshot of me, the next time you bump into a racist white redneck with a swastika tattoo on his forehead, throwing around hate speech, don't turn the other cheek. But be a man. Look him in the eye and say, dude, you're so wrong. You're so wrong, and one day you're going to pay for what you're saying. And with any luck, the judge will be a lot bigger and more powerful than any of us are, if you believe in that sort of thing. And one day that person will have to answer for what he or she has done for. But I'm going to tell you right now, don't turn the other cheek. However, if you take up weapons against them, you are lowering yourself to their standards. Don't do it, man. It's not worth it, okay? We do have to fight to take back this country. We have to fight to be a force for change. But we have to fight to be a force of civilized, peaceful change. That's what we have to do, okay? Violence will only beget more violence. And then that violence will only beget more violence after that. Don't do it, man. Keep your wits about you. Keep your heads about you. And stay strong. And every time you see ignorance like that, block it out. Get rid of it. No matter what side the ignorance comes from, no matter what side the hate comes from, one does not make the other right. It never has, it never will. So speak up when you see something. Be a man, take a stand. Okay? Speak up and say something when you see it. You have to, man. How many people that have hurt other people in this country over something as dumb as skin color could have been stopped had someone spoke up? You see what I'm saying? These people have to know that what they're doing is wrong, period. That violence has never been the answer, it never will be. I have a hard time teaching my 8-year-old that. Whenever time we turn on the TV, there's violence. And he's looking at me questioning why. And I have to sit there and explain to him. My 8-year-old listens. And if he's not listening now, he will eventually. And one day he'll remember everything I said to him. Trust me, I know how that works. And I hope that he remembers everything I'm telling him about violence in this country and about how people need to treat each other better. Stop worrying about what color someone's skin is. Stop worrying about their gender. Stop worrying about the way they live their lives, their lives, their lives, their lives. Not yours. Not yours. Their lives. Not up to you. Not up to you. It's not up to you at all. Never has been. Never will be. Get over yourselves. If you count yourself among one of those people that sit back and shake their heads at black people, shake their heads at gay people, you know what? You're as much part of the problem as anybody else is. Look at yourself in the mirror and ask yourself, am I a racist? If I am, what can I do to stop it? Cut it out, man. No joke. And I know that sounded juvenile to say it that way. But we've got to learn to get along. We're never going to make it if we can't go coexist. And that's the truth. That's true for America or any other country on this planet. If we cannot learn to get along, we will never be able to coexist. A nation that cannot coexist will live in ruins and divided. And we can't do that. We're the greatest country on earth. I have a hard time saying that today. But that's how I feel. And as long as I feel that way, as long as a lot of other people feel that way, we have a chance. Don't let it go. Keep fighting, man. Keep fighting the good fight. My apologies for getting all political on you. I don't usually do that here on the show. I like to keep my stuff separate. But to turn a blind eye is to endorse it, and I won't endorse it. Can't, won't. I voted conservative my entire life. When the next round of elections comes, I will not be voting conservative. You can take that to me whenever you want, but I'm embarrassed. I'm ashamed. I'm fearful. But you know what? I also believe in the best of people. And I believe that the best of us will come out during this time. We're going to be just fine. It's going to take a lot of work. We got to work hard to get there. But I know we can. I know we all can together. Let's fight to do it, shall we? No more wrestling. That's it for me. We're done on this show for today. Thanks, man, for tuning in. That's it for the main event this time around. Appreciate your business. Thanks for listening as always. Take care of each other, man. Start today. Don't wait. Start today. We'll see you again next time on Tom Clark's Main Event.